Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Judy DeCourcey, and I work in the RIT Human Resources Department, and I lead a team of people who help RIT employees with all of their benefits. I'm happy to say it is a sunny Monday as opposed to a snowy Monday, so it's kind of nice to have that for a change. I have a prepared presentation, and I'll share my screen in just a minute. And then if you can hold your questions till the end, and I'll answer all the questions you have if I'm able, and if I'm not, I can certainly try to get back to you with an answer if there's something I can't quite figure out for you. So with that, I will share my screen. And I just gotta wait for, okay. So here's my name. And so I'm really happy to be here today to talk to you about benefits in general, and I can share a little bit about RIT's benefits. So I'm going to talk about something called total reward strategy, and something for you to think about. It's not just about your pay. I'm going to chat about a couple of important benefits that an employer will probably offer you, and some things for you to think about. And then lastly, some hints to help you make some better decisions as far as your choices for the benefits you're going to choose. So let's say you've received a job offer, or maybe you have multiple offers. Now what? How exciting would that be? I hope that happens to all of you. So a lot of times what will happen is the offer will first be verbal. You may have a phone call from the hiring manager who would give you a verbal offer, but you're going to want that offer in writing. And usually there would be an offer letter. And it should include what the job title is, what the start date is, what the salary will be. There may be some information about benefits. May not have a lot of detail about the benefits, but there might be a little bit of information. And then what those next steps are. You know, do you have to do a background check? Do you have to have a physical? Do you have to have a driving test? You know, how do you accept the offer? So pay attention to what those things are. You're going to want to understand the benefits, and I'll give you some things to think about today. You want to understand the organization too, because especially if you have more than one offer, you may want to understand a little bit about each organization to see where maybe it seems like a better fit for you. And then lastly, and really evaluate that entire package. So this term, this total rewards or total compensation, what that really means is the money part, you know, your pay, if you will, and then some non-monetary things, because you're going to be giving your time, your talent, your efforts, results, hopefully, to this organization. So there really are 5 elements: your pay, which is always obvious; benefits, which is a little bit obvious. But then there are other things, the work-life balance. You know, are you working 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week in this role? That doesn't give you as much time for that balance in your life that you may need. Performance and recognition. Do they have annual performance reviews to know how you're doing? You know, are you recognized, whether it's, you know, a pat on the back, a kudos, or perhaps with a pay increase or a bonus? Those are really important. And then lastly, development, professional development. Are there learning opportunities? Are you able to do coursework? Are you able to, you know, do another degree, for instance? And career opportunities. What kind of other opportunities exist within that organization that might appeal to you? So as far as the pay, that's your salary or your direct pay. You know, as I mentioned, the job offer is going to have how much your pay will be. The letter might also indicate how often you're paid, you know, whether it's semi-monthly, which would be, say, twice a month, let's say the 15th of the last business day, or biweekly, which is every other week. Every employer sets its own kind of pay frequency. You want to understand what your budget is, you know, and how much do you need to earn to cover your expenses. But that doesn't mean that, you know, you just signed a lease for this penthouse apartment, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month, and you just bought a Tesla and you have a car payment that's huge. You know, the employer doesn't care about those things. They're going to pay you what the right rate is for that job, for somebody with your education, your experience, your background, those kinds of things. So they don't really care if you've made some other kinds of financial commitments. So keep that in mind, especially at the beginning of your career. You don't have quite as much flexibility at the beginning of your career to kind of, negotiate all the different things that might be available in a package. Fast forward a bunch of years, then you might have a little more flexibility for that. There are a lot of different benefits that an employer can offer you. And depending on the benefits you choose, it can add another 30 to 40% of your pay on top of that, kind of total compensation package. So think of it as a pie chart. 70% of that pie is your pay and 30% is your benefits. So it can be pretty significant. So the employer will likely have some kind of healthcare coverage, medical coverage, prescription drug, dental, vision, some different kinds of accounts called health savings account or a health reimbursement arrangement. Those are available if you have a qualified high deductible healthcare plan. And I'm going to talk about those in a couple minutes. Flexible spending accounts. The employer may have life insurance or disability insurance, retirement plans, such as a 401k or a 403b plan. You may be eligible for tuition benefits or maybe stock options. Vacation, it's always kind of funny to think about, when you're starting a new job, getting time off, but it's kind of an important thing because you are going to need some time away as well. Sick days, personal time, holidays. And then the last line aren't so much in the benefits area, but they're important things to understand. If you're going to get a signing bonus or receive reimbursement for relocation, performance bonus, company car. I wish I had a company car, although I sit home all the time lately because of the pandemic. So why does an employer offer benefits? It's really to be competitive. Think about it this way. If you had two job offers, the exact same job, the employer's very much the same, and the pay offer exactly the same, but one offered you benefits and one did not. So one offered you medical coverage and dental coverage and retirement plan and all kinds of things, and the other one didn't. It helps you understand why the benefits can really help an employer be competitive. It's also a tax effective way for that employer to provide benefits to you because in a lot of cases, those benefits they can provide are tax-free for them. And then you as the employee are able to pay for some of those benefits on a tax-free basis, meaning you don't pay federal tax, you may not pay state tax depending on your state. And while some people may not believe this, a lot of employers actually do care about their employees. They want to protect your standard of living, protect your income. If you didn't have medical coverage and you were in the hospital for a month, you would have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of out-of-pocket costs. So medical coverage helps to protect your income, protect your standard of living. Or disability coverage if you're not able to work because you're ill or you're injured. That protects your income. That protects your standard of living. Or life insurance, sadly, if you were to pass away, there's something that goes to your survivors. It also is a way to leverage really this concept of group purchasing power. And that's really important. An employer can offer a life insurance benefit to thousands of employees, and it's much less expensive than if each of those people went and bought life insurance on their own. So it's a way to bring benefits to an individual on a much more cost-effective basis. And then, of course, some things are required by law. Here in New York State, for instance, disability is required by law, workers' compensation. So there are a number of things an employer will offer because they have to. But most benefits are actually voluntary. And the larger the employer, often the more choices you're going to have. So that's a good thing and a bad thing because it's a lot to think about, but sometimes it's really good to have some choice. So just to give you an example, RIT is a large employer, actually one of the largest here in Rochester, and we have a very comprehensive employee benefits program for our employees. Your typical medical coverage, prescription drug, vision, dental. But then we also have an employee wellness program. We have some voluntary deduction plans, like a legal services plan, for instance, identity theft protection coverage. And then there's some discount programs. And then that last bullet, statutory benefits, those are the legally required benefits, such as I mentioned, like disability or workers' compensation. So I'm going to talk about a couple of benefits today, just to highlight two what I think are two of the most important benefits for you to think about and understand a little bit more about. Certainly not trying to get you to be an expert, but at least get you to start thinking about some things. So the first one I want to talk about is medical coverage. But before I do, there are a lot of different terms that we use when we're talking about somebody's medical coverage or prescription drug coverage. The first one is a copay, and that's a flat dollar amount. So when you go to the doctor, if you have, say, a $30 copay, you know that that's what you're going to pay for that service, whether you're in that doctor's office for 5 minutes talking to the doctor or 2 hours, you have a $30 copay. A deductible is an upfront amount that you would pay before the plan begins to pay anything. So for example, you pay the first $300 for any of your services that are subject to the deductible. Then the plan would start to pay. And typically a deductible is matched up with what is called coinsurance, which is a percentage. So you pay, say, your $300 deductible, then the plan will start to pay 80% of the cost, for example, and you would pay 20% of the cost. And then you're protected. You're not going to pay that 20% for the rest of the year because there is often, or actually is because it's required by law, an out-of-pocket maximum. And that's the most you will pay in a year for services. And then once you've reached that, then the plan would pay 100% of covered services for the rest of that year. And it's typically going to be a calendar year. So there are a few different kinds of plans. It's not super important for you to understand all of the plans, but just to give you an idea of the different types, and we use a lot of acronyms. So we have a preferred provider organization, or a PPO. And you have a financial incentive to go to a provider who is a network provider. They participate in that network. And so all the doctors, the hospitals, the outpatient facilities, that's where it's going to be the least costly for you to have your services. And that's because these network providers have agreed to the negotiated rates with the insurance company. So if you go to an out-of-network provider, you typically are going to pay more because they haven't negotiated with the insurance company to charge a lower rate. And usually a PPO will have deductibles and coinsurance. There may be some services that have a copay, that flat dollar amount. The next type is a health maintenance organization, or an HMO. And it's similar. It's a network of participating providers and facilities, and they've negotiated the rates. Here it's a little different. You typically will choose a primary care physician, or a PCP, who participates with the HMO. And they really are, sometimes somebody will use the term gatekeeper. That's who you go to whenever you have a medical problem. And then if it's something that a specialist needs to review with you, then you would get a referral to a specialist. Usually these plans have copays. There could be co-insurance for some services, for instance, acupuncture, but typically it's going to be copays. And usually you don't have any coverage if you go out of the network, unless you have an urgent need or an emergency. Let's say you're on vacation. So again, you stay within this provider network, you go to your PCP for your care, and that person takes care of everything and refers you out if needed. The next is a point of service, or a POS plan. And it's kind of a hybrid, if you will. It's a little bit of an HMO and a little bit of a PPO. The in-network of a point of service plan is very similar to the HMO, where a lot of services may have a copay. Again, it's a participating network where they've negotiated with the insurance company. But then there's also an out-of-network benefit that's similar to the PPO. So you're not stuck kind of in-network like you are in an HMO. A lot of times you would have to pick a primary care physician and then still have referrals to specialists. And again, that financial incentive is there if you go to an in-network provider. And so it's just a different type of plan, but a little bit of everything. The one that you're most likely to see, however, is a qualified high deductible health plan. A lot of employers have started to put these plans in. And there's a minimum deductible amount and an out-of-pocket maximum, and the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, sets these amounts every year, and they usually increase a little bit every year. Under these plans, preventive care is typically covered in full. So that annual physical, your annual immunizations or periodic immunizations like tetanus or the flu shot, those are usually covered in full. And it's really the coverage is set that way to make sure people go for that routine care. Because if people skip that, then they may miss some new development, some new healthcare problem that they didn't know about. And sometimes you really need to act on things more quickly. The minimum deductible is really kind of pretty high for in a lot of people's minds. For this year, it's $1,400 for an individual or $2,800 for a family. And if you remember, that deductible is you have to pay that amount before the plan pays for anything. So you would pay $1,400 toward any services other than those routine services. Then once you reach that deductible, then you usually will have co-insurance. These plans are often paired with a health savings account or a health reimbursement arrangement. So let me just talk about those for a minute. The HSA, the health spending account, the employee and the employer can contribute. The IRS, because these plans, these rules are set by the IRS, they say how much that maximum contribution is. So the most you could put in is $3,600 for an individual or $7,200 for a family. That's out of reach for a lot of people, certainly, but it's a great way to save going forward. The amount that you save, and if the employer contributes that's in the plan, rolls over year to year. And reimbursements are usually going to be tax-free. So if you use the money to pay toward your deductible, to pay toward that hospital stay, whatever the services might be, those are considered qualified and they're tax-free to you. A lot of times what's really suggested is you try to build that up as much as you can so that you have money there when you are retired, when you may not have healthcare coverage available through an employer. So I've made bold orange font for this last bullet because it's important, especially when we get to the next slide. So an HSA account belongs to the employee. It belongs to the individual. So when that person leaves employment, that money belongs to the person. It doesn't go back to the employer. The HRA, the health reimbursement arrangement, is a similar type of thing. You have to have a qualified high deductible plan. It's account in quotes because it's not really funded per se, it's more notional, but the employer puts money into this account, making it available for the individual. And again, that balance can roll over year to year. There are maximums that are set by the government, but the thing that's different about this plan is that those funds in that account can revert to the employer when the person terminates employment. So that's the big difference. I think more and more employers are going to that HSA model, which is certainly preferable from the employee perspective because they have that account going forward. So both the HSA and the HRA, you have to have a high deductible health plan. The last type of account, flexible spending account, you do not need to have a high deductible health plan. But if you have a high deductible health plan, you can have only what is called a limited purpose healthcare FSA, and it's just for vision and dental expenses. The traditional flexible spending account for healthcare is all healthcare expenses, medical, prescription drug, vision, and dental. But if you have a high deductible health plan, you have that HSA or HRA that you would typically have for that. So that's why the FSA, the flexible spending account, can only be for vision and dental. This is usually only employee contributions. Typically, employers do not contribute to a flexible spending account. It's a way for you to contribute on a tax-free basis. And when you're reimbursed, you are reimbursed on a tax-free basis. So if you have predictable expenses, it's a great way to save on taxes. And there are two types of these accounts. There's the healthcare account. The IRS sets the maximums there, $2,750 per employee for the medical, dental, and vision expenses not covered by your insurance. So those co-pays, the deductible, even over-the-counter medications are eligible. Again, that's only if you don't have the high deductible health plan, though. There's also one for dependent daycare spending account. So if you have a young child who goes to daycare, you can set up to $5,000 per year to cover those daycare expenses, and you don't pay tax on that money when it goes in, and you don't pay tax when it comes out. So the healthcare account is $2,750 per employee. So I could do that amount, and my spouse could do that amount. The dependent care account is $5,000 per family. So if I did $5,000, my spouse could not do that $5,000. So that's the one little nuance there. Usually you have to use the funds within that plan year, or you lose the money. They call that the use it or lose it rule. But some plans do have a feature, either a grace period where you would have until 2.5 months after the year end. So if it's a calendar year plan, you could submit expenses with dates of service through March 15th to your account. Or there could be a carryover carryover provision, which this year is limited to $550 to roll over and can be used anytime in the next year. So a couple of things to think about. Every employer is going to be different. There may be a choice of medical plans. There may not be a choice, but if you have a choice, don't assume that the plan with the lowest contribution that you would pay out of your paycheck is the least expensive plan. Because a lot of times, the lower the amount you pay out of your paycheck, the more you pay when you go for services. On the other hand, the plan with the highest contribution out of your paycheck doesn't mean it's the best. You know, if you're healthy, you almost never go to the doctor, you don't take any prescription drugs, and you choose that high cost plan, you may be paying more than you really need to, kind of being overinsured, if you will. So what you want to do is you want to keep in mind what your healthcare needs are, how much the copays are, the co-insurance, what's covered, what's not covered. Do you have a spouse or partner or children? You have to keep those people in mind too when you're making those choices. Maybe your spouse or partner has a plan. Maybe you each choose your own plan. So a lot of things to think about. The other topic I wanted to talk about is the retirement plan. Typically, an employer will have what's called a 401k plan or a 403b plan. These are both sections from the Internal Revenue Code. So Section 401k of the Internal Revenue Code or Section 403b. Corporations typically will have a 401k plan. A 403b plan you will see in not-for-profits, higher education, like RIT, and those sorts of employers, but they're very similar plans. Basically, you elect how much you want to contribute to the plan. It could be a percentage or a flat dollar amount, and that money comes out of your paycheck every pay period. There's the traditional pre-tax contribution, and that's before federal taxes are withheld, and in most states, state tax. It is still subject to FICA, the Social Security and Medicare taxes that come out of a person's paycheck every pay period. Some plans have a feature called the Roth contribution feature, and with this, you make your contributions on an after-tax basis. A lot of times, the employer will contribute to the plan, provided you contribute, you the employee contribute. There may be a waiting period before you're eligible for that matching contribution. And one of the things that's important, make sure you're contributing at least the amount needed to get the full employer match. So if the employer match says that you have to contribute 6% of pay to get that full match, make sure you're contributing 6% of pay. Otherwise, you're walking away from free money. You will choose usually different investment options, mutual funds, there could be stock funds, bond funds, a whole range of things. Every plan sets its own investment choices. And then that balance, your contributions, the employer contributions, those grow tax-free. For your pre-tax contributions and the employer contributions, those are taxable when they're distributed, when you take a distribution. Under current law, the qualified withdrawals from a Roth account are tax-free, including the earnings. So that's really important, especially when you're younger, to really be able to save. And then lastly, under a federal law called ERISA, these plans are protected. You know, if your employer is having some financial issues, they can't dip into the plan and take money out of your account. They're not allowed to do that. Also, creditors don't have access. So if the company you work for goes under, the creditors do not have access to that account, your account. The maximum contribution in 2021 is $19,500 for anybody who's under age 50. They do have some provisions for people over age 50 to contribute more. I like to share this slide because it's really, this power of compounding is so important. So you'll see on the left with the blue, Marie, she decided to start contributing right away, right when she got into the workforce at age 25. And she set aside $10,000 every year for 10 years. So she put in $100,000. Now, if you look over on the right side, Tom didn't start right away. He said, I don't need to worry about retirement. It's not a big deal. So he didn't start until age 35. And he also was contributing $10,000 a year. He did it for 32 years. So he put in $320,000. Maria only put in $100,000. And look at the balances. Because of that compounding, because she started 10 years earlier, she has more money in that retirement account than he does. And she put in so much less. So it's really important that, you know, the earlier you start, even if it's just a couple of percent, it makes a huge difference. So I encourage you to contribute to your retirement plan. So a few hints for you. When you're looking at that job offer, obviously the pay is important. The benefits are important. Also think about things like the career opportunities, because it's not just about the pay. A long time ago, early in my career, I had 2 job offers. One that paid a little bit more, but it was essentially the same job I had been doing, versus one that paid a little less, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 less, I think. But it was a much better opportunity for me in that job and going forward. And I took the lower paying job because it was a better opportunity. And I really believe if I hadn't taken that job, I wouldn't be sitting here today doing this presentation for you. So it can't be understated, looking at what that future opportunity might be for you. Keep the coverage effective date in mind. If your employer starts the healthcare coverage the first of the month after you're hired, then maybe you want to start the 29th of the prior month, so your coverage would start right away. For those of you who are under age 26, your parent can probably still cover you under some or all of their benefits. So talk to your parents, see if maybe they can keep you on the policy a little longer. You'll have a little extra money, so you can put that in the retirement plan. Remember the compounding. The one caution I have, though, is if you live in a different geographic area, you want to understand how that coverage will work. Because remember, I talked about HMOs only work in that area, for instance. So you want to understand some of that before making that final decision. Understand when you can make changes in your benefits. Most employers offer you once a year opportunity called the open enrollment period. A lot of employers will offer that in the fall, and then the coverage effective date for changes would be that next January 1st. Most employers will allow limited mid-year changes if you have what's called a qualifying event. So if you get married, you can add a spouse. If you have a baby, you can add a child. If you get divorced, you can remove the spouse. But usually you have to make that change within 30 or 31 days. So if you get married, don't go into your employer 3 months later and say, hey, I got married, I want to add my spouse, because they're probably going to say no. So pay attention to that. A few hints on the retirement plan. I really touched on most of these, but I wanted to highlight them again. Make sure you're contributing enough to get that employer match. If there is a Roth contribution feature available, consider that, because under current law, those qualified distributions would be tax-free. So think about that example with Maria and that compounding, that if she had contributed that $100,000 as a Roth feature, that over that, what was $1.3 million or something, would be tax-free to her when she took it out. Again, the compounding, and save as much as you can afford to save. If you get a salary increase, bump up your contribution. Even 1% a year can make a big difference. Check to see if your plan has an automatic increase feature. Some plans have that, and maybe you sign up that every July 1st, you increase your contribution by 1%. And then lastly, it's really important for you to try to understand your benefit choices. I totally understand it's overwhelming. It's a lot of information. There's a lot of weird terminology that we use in the benefits world. But take some time, review the benefits at least once a year, and especially as your circumstances change. Again, that marriage, divorce, birth or adoption of a child, if your spouse or partner changes jobs. Also review your beneficiary designations at least once a year. That's really important, because if you don't, if something happens, it could go to a person you do not want that money to go to. So that's really important. So read what your employer sends you, ask questions. It's okay to ask questions, and then pay attention to those deadlines. There's an annual open enrollment period, and they say you need to, submit your form or do your online enrollment by November 15th. That's what they mean, November 15th. They don't mean November 16th. So you might miss an opportunity if you don't pay attention to those deadlines. So put a tickler on your calendar or something so you don't forget. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. Got to find the right button here. Hang on. And I'm happy to take questions. I don't know if, Sharon, they normally do it verbally or through the chat, but I'm happy to do either.
Feel free to use the chat for any questions.
All right. Somebody's got to have a question for me. Sharon, do you have a question for me? Do you want to ask about your benefits?
I do not have a question. Thorough job explaining that.
I always like to see, since the interpreters are usually RIT employees, and Sharon is coordinator of this. So hopefully they all learned a little something today too.
We'll just allow 1 or 2 more minutes if
Sure.
does have a question.
Ooh. All right, I got a question. Oh, that's a great question. Is it possible to continue the group health insurance after our employment? A very good question. There's a law, the initials spell out COBRA, COBRA. And that's a law that's been around since 1985. And what that allows is if somebody loses coverage, so if you leave employment, or if you turn 26 and you are coming off your parents' policy, most employers are subject to COBRA, and they are required to offer continuation of coverage, the exact same coverage, to the individual who is losing coverage. The kind of challenging thing with this is that it's the full premium plus a 2% administrative charge. So it could be that that individual premium to continue medical could be $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. So typically, it's not always the most economical way, and a person may want to look to see either at a new employer, or if they don't have a job, certainly in the marketplace, through the Affordable Care Act, there is coverage available to people depending on your state. So there is an opportunity to continue, but it can be pretty pricey. Thank you for that question. Any other questions?
This is Sharon. There was a question in regards to the recording of today's presentation, and I did want to share that it will be located in 2 places. We will put it on the RIT Student Life YouTube channel, and we will also have it posted on the RIT Financial Literacy Campus Group's website.
I have a question.
Sure.
Like, at the time when we received the offer letter, when we accepted it, so is it a good idea to discuss with HR, what is an expected increment that employees that they're receiving, in that organization for the next year? Like, is that a good question to ask?
To ask about
the next year increment.
For pay?
Yeah. Yes. The next year.
You could ask when you ask the question, when do you typically do pay increases?
Okay.
Every employer does their own. Some employers base it on your date of hire, and maybe you would be eligible for an increase once a year on your date of hire. Some employers might do it at the same time for everybody. Maybe it's every January 1st. And so depending on when you start, you might not be eligible. And, if you started in October and the pay increases go into effect in November, you might probably are not eligible that first year. So it's okay to ask when they typically do, I would say, do performance reviews and salary increases. That's okay to ask. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
Judy, I think that is the.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate Sharon, you reaching out and having me do the presentation. I know it'd be better if there were more people, but hopefully people will be able to watch the recording and can learn a little something. And I wish everybody the best as you kind of move into this next phase of your life. And hopefully you find that awesome job offer and with lots of pay and lots of great benefits.
Thank you so much, Judy. And reminder, if you would like to find additional content like this from the RIT Financial Literacy team, you can find us in campus groups, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you and have a great afternoon.